Let's get down to business, campers. This is Aging Gracefully, and I am Matthew Essex. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to rank Friday the 13th from 1 to 12 with everything in between. Bringing up the rear is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. In this movie, the only thing Jason truly takes is our time and our money away from us. Move on, don't bother. Number 11, Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday. He goes from being a giant hulking hockey mask wearing psychopath to a demon that crawls in and out of other people. Yeah, just stay in hell, I guess, in that case. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, comes in at number 10 on the ranking list. Now, this is where we get Imposter Jason, who's actually Roy the EMT. It's an interesting twist, but ultimately, nobody likes a cheap knockoff. Sorry, Roy, but stick to your day job. Number 9, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Now, this had a great idea, but it was poorly executed. The idea of a girl with telekinesis taking on Jason was cool, but the execution and the actual demonstration of her powers when she went toe-to-toe with Jason was super lame, and the cast was terrible, so not a good film. Jason X comes in at number 8. I actually thought this was fun. It was a cool idea. I mean, they didn't take themselves too seriously knowing they were putting Jason in space. But it's number 8 for a reason. There's 7 other movies that are actually really solid horror sequels that we're going to get to right now. Number 7 is Freddy vs. Jason. Now, this was an iconic movie that we had been waiting on, matching up two major killers against one another. It was fun. It was bloody. It was everything it was supposed to be. And a few years ago, I probably would have had this higher on the ranking list, but some of these movies aged a little more gracefully. So let's get into the top 6. The 2009 remake of Friday the 13th is going to come in at 6. Now, a lot of people didn't like this movie. A lot of people just don't like remakes in general. I thought they turned in a good effort. Jason Voorhees was really scary again, and I think that's ultimately what you want in your Friday the 13th. He has to be terrifying, and in this movie, Jason's pretty terrifying. Number 5, I put the original Friday the 13th, the 1980 version. Now, that might be controversial to some people, especially films of the franchise, diehards. Pamela Voorhees is the killer in this movie, and she's great, but this is a Jason Voorhees franchise, and not having him as the central figure knocked it down a couple of notches for me. But still, scary movie. It's good to watch. Ages gracefully. It's just not in the top 4. Number 4 is Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now, this was a 3D turn-in for the franchise. You can tell by watching it. There's several scenes that were filmed specifically for 3D. Very good film. Kind of a weak final girl. Jason's terrifying. He's still running after people. And when you're running and chasing somebody as opposed to walking after them, it makes the tension that much more severe. So, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Very solid outing at number 4. Number 3 on the countdown, Friday the 13th, Part 2. Baghead Jason. Jenny as a final girl, terrific. Baghead Jason, terrifying. Paul was pretty good. Paul put up a fight against Jason. I think that's what you want out of your leading man. Really solid movie. Fantastic movie to come off of the original. Well worth the watch. Number 2, Friday the 13th, Part 4. Or as they called it, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. I have no idea why they wanted to name a horror sequel The Final Chapter, but they did it. Thankfully, it's not the only one that we got, but if it was, Friday the 13th, Part 4 was great because you get Tommy Jarvis, you get Corey Feldman, you get a great final girl in Trish, and you get a massively talented cast that you really invested yourself in, including Judy Arneson. Number 1. With a bullet, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. It is the all-timer of this series. It's tremendous. I can't say enough good things about it. Go check it out. It's got Alice Cooper on the soundtrack, for God's sakes. So give it a look. That's my countdown. We're going to get into Nightmare on Elm Street next, and we might have a couple of twists I'll throw in there in between, but that's it. That's all. I will see you on the other side.